Right.
Feel better.
We are live.
Nice.
I want to have like a nickname or something. Joe Zahner seems way too serious. I like how David though you put in your last name this time.
Yeah. Well, I saw y'all did, and I was like, well, okay. I guess I'm just David.
I always do. I don't
David
know.
always assumes people know who he is. Like when he first started working at the Odin, he would always sign his emails just David.
Well, I just figure anybody who cares already knows.
Hello.
Anybody else doesn't care.
I know.
Everybody
already knows who I am. Geesh. If you don't know who I am, that's your problem.
Not quite. We should make share this on Facebook.
Mine actually worked, so surprisingly.
Good.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. Actually, Restream is so much better than like YouTube Studio, because YouTube always messes something up with streaming. So this is just way easier, in my opinion.
Yeah. Right on.
Oh.
Your hair looks darker, Daria.
Actually, yeah, I dyed it.
You dyed it again?
No, it's same color. It's just
Lighting difference.
The lighting.
yeah, different lighting. Because it's like super dark outside. It's only 6 p.m., but it's a thunderstorm. So if you hear loud noises, it's not explosions. I'm not yet in Ukraine. It's just a thunderstorm.
Okay. Wow.
That's
Good to know. Yeah. It's good to know.
Yeah.
Have you figured out what dates you're going back to Ukraine yet?
Yeah, I already got the tickets.
Okay. When?
I'll arrive to Dnipro on 15th.
Oh, okay. 15th of July.
Yeah.
Great.
We're leaving at like 11th, but we're gonna like spend some time in Berlin, like a few days, and then go, because it's like a long, and you're traveling by trains, so there's
you're the whole way there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And well, first of all, you can't fly in Ukraine right now because there is no flights.
But I didn't know.
Yeah. So even taking a train from Przemysl, which is like 10 kilometers away from a Ukrainian border, it takes 20 hours to get from Przemysl to Dnipro, because Ukraine is so big compared to other European countries. Like here, like I take a train from Dusseldorf to Amsterdam, and I'll be there in like 2.5 hours.
Yeah, Europe's pretty small. The CDC is what we call our biohacking collective, the Central Dogma Collective. So it's not actually the Center for Disease Control, in case you were confused, because fuck no, are we going to Seems like a weird thing.
No.
On next podcast, we have the Center for Disease Control
panel. Yeah.
We're just going to like argue with them the whole time.
Talk about monkeypox.
We're gonna get I don't know, deleted or something if we talk about monkeypox too much.
Monkeypox, yeah. Don't want to start that up again. Monkeypox. So, let's be honest. Fuck is that shit? Come on. It's a great way to skew the SEO, I know, right? Seriously. We should just put monkeypox in the title.
Oh no.
No, not doing it again.
CDC.
A lot of disappointed people tuning in.
I know. We'd get reported so fast. Pretending to be the CDC.
Yeah.
It's kind of the point. Yeah, so anything interesting new been going on?
Not for me.
Biohacking world. What have I been working on lately? Absolutely nothing. Not nothing, but just like nothing new since last week, I guess.
Yeah, I was like, this whole week's gone by really fast, so.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, actually, Lyra and I were working on wrote a grant for making some common fungal genetic engineering techniques and protocols, which might be pretty fun. We'll see. Maybe it'll get funded, get a couple $1,000 to genetically modify some fungus.
So, sounds like a nice Friday evening.
They're like good because they're like so much faster than plants, but like they actually grow into shit also. So it's just like,
Yeah.
it's like plants take forever. Yeah, and like fungal cells, like you can transform them, then select and like grow, and have it all done within like a month.
Yeah.
Whereas like plants, it's like even to get like a callus or something takes 3 months.
Yikes.
Right? What's the Joe to call? Oh, God.
I like Jodine.
Teen, Jomosexual.
Jonah type.
Oh God, really? Did you have to go there? But yeah, so that'll be pretty cool. It's interesting
I
because
know if somebody noticed that I just tried to sip the bottle that was closed.
I noticed.
I didn't. I thought it was legit.
I like stopped for a second because I was like, what's going on?
I love when people say, "Can I ask a question?" It's like,
No.
just ask your question. Like, I don't know. Like, isn't that a question? Asking a question? You already asked a question.
Yeah, yes, you can.
But anyway, yeah, the fungus is pretty. The problem with fungal genetic engineering, it's really funny because like everybody uses like some enzyme that's not produced anymore, or like some technique that doesn't work in all fungus, or like all this different stuff. It's really interesting. It's complicated because like generally with like every other organism, things are pretty standardized. Like if you want to engineer like a plant or a mouse or a bacteria or C. elegans, like there's pretty standard ways that everybody uses. But like fungus, it's no, it's just like, well, I don't know, and it's so
Yeah.
it'll be interesting.
Other than Saccharomyces, like what's the fungal model organism?
I don't know if they really have one. A lot of people use Ganoderma, which is like reishi mushroom, but like they don't really have like model organisms. It's surprising that like fungal genetic engineering isn't more like
Established.
yeah, or just like more popular. It seems like it'd be a cool, interesting, and especially because like all these companies are trying to like make materials and stuff out of like you can genetically engineer that. You don't have to go through the FDA or anything, right?
Right.
Like it doesn't matter. You can genetically engineer fungus to make a material and then just like use it in packaging of boxes, and like nobody gives a shit. And so it's really interesting that like more people aren't doing it because it seems like wow, that's like a great opportunity to like use the power of genetic engineering, and you don't have to go through all the regulatory hurdles and all that other shit where you do in like every other case of like most other organisms, right?
This is what maybe it's because there's less of a standardized protocol for doing those kinds of things. People are just like, I don't know, I'd have to figure something out, and that seems like a lot. Maybe people are intimidated by the lack of an established path.
Yeah, I think so, or like protocols, because it's just like, because generally it starts with like making protoplasts, which is like seems more like magic than science, and everybody's got like different enzymes they use, and like most of the enzymes that people use aren't even like sold by the companies anymore, so it's just like and protoplasts aren't like it's not like you can't like check and see, you just have to, it's like just by looking at it you're just like that kind of looks like a protoplast. Like
You're just like, it was long and pointy, now it's kind of round. Seems right.
Still like, would you is this something I was gonna mention about like that paper that we were reading and talking about, like harvesting our own cells and using them on our skin and like wounds and stuff like that to like do shit. Like stem cells are the same way. It's really funny because like this generic term stem cells like means absolutely nothing. And it kind of cracks me up because like you read a paper or something like that and they're like stem cells, and you're like, how do you know it's a stem cell? And they're like, kind of looks like one.
Seems STEMmy.
But like most of the time they're not actually like taking the cells, running like sequencing to determine if it's expressing the correct factors, unless the paper is like specifically about stem cells. Otherwise, it's just like you just assume it's a stem cell. And David, you and I have seen like with primary cell culture, like the cells act weird. Like
Yeah.
cells, like what is a stem cell and what is not a stem cell? I think there's like a really thin boundary sometimes because like cells differentiate and de-differentiate and like
Yeah, they adapt to their environment and change over time. And
yeah, and so like this term stem cells, that when people use it I just kind of laugh because you're just like
not a
what do you
real
mean
definition.
like exactly by stem cell,
Yeah.
that it looks like a stem cell? Did you actually like test gene expression? No. It's like that it can differentiate. Like I've seen cells do all weird sorts of differentiation and shit, so it's like I don't.
Yeah. Yeah. It's sort of a higher frequency of whatever potential kind of thing. And
So it's just like but who knows? So whenever people say stem cells, I'm just kind of skeptical in scientific papers.
Yeah, I think that's good. It's always good to be safe.
Because I mean, especially primary tissue culture. Like primary tissue culture is always, it's like a lot of different. You can't like isolate cells really well, right? So you have a lot of different cell types in there, and so it's just like it's never a pure culture anyway from primary tissue culture. There are things you can do, of course, to like try to select more for certain cell types and stuff like that, but generally it's
Yeah, and it's kind of equivalent to being like, this has potential.
Yeah. Are there more normalized terms for each type of cell that are? Yeah, I mean, sure. The problem is with cells is like 90% of cell identification is just done visually or by like what kind of material it binds to, and that's it. Like so, like most of the time it's not like like we're doing a complex genetic, because like that's super complicated to like begin an experiment to just like identify that the cell type is what you say it is. Sometimes they do like stains, like look, this is like with muscle cells are like, look, this is like microtubules and stuff or some shit. But like it's not like definitive. So there's a lot of different cell types that people have named and called them stuff, but it's generally very much based on like very indirect things, like just the way they look.
Yeah, especially since you're talking about tens of thousands of genes that can all be on and off to various like smooth gradients, and the balance between all of them, and we just kind of chunk stuff for simplicity's sake. But like, if you had enough names for every different possible amount of gene expression for every different gene, it would just be like an infinite number of names.
So it's just it's interesting. But so one of the projects we've been talking about working on is where they let's see if we can pull up the link.
You put the
link.
Okay.
Let me see. Copy.
We put the paper directly on the screen.
That's too complicated, it seems. Let me just. Can I just post it in the chat? We'll just like go to all the chats. Can't post messages to some channels. All right. Oh wait, wow. What is that? It's like a Facebook link to the link. I hate when they do that. When you like try to grab a link from Google and it like is a Google link to the link. Let's see. Can I add text to the screen? How do I add text to the screen?
You can just share your screen.
Captions. Here we go. Let's see. Edit. Let me. Oh yeah, I guess maybe it'll be tough for people to like type in the whole URL just from the screen.
But if you just look at the title, you could just Google to search the title.
Oh yeah, let me just put in the title. That's a good idea. then you could just search the title. Because I think it's open access right now, so you can just get it from. This was published in what, 2017?
Can
Kind of
just
new.
spin a DOI, so
Yeah,
people
here,
can read it from Sci-Hub and other places.
here we go. Let's see.
There we go.
Yeah, so that's the title of the paper. And basically in the paper, what they do is they, take like a biopsy from the mouse, from its skin, purify or like grow stem cells, genetically modify those stem cells, put it back on the mouse, like transplant it like back on the skin so that the stem cells like take and start releasing insulin into the bloodstream, which is really interesting. A lot of it's really interesting because it's like allogenic transplants, that's what they do with stem cells now, like don't need FDA approval. I think if you genetically modify them, they might, but like you can take your stem cells and use them in your body, like re-inject yourself with them, and it doesn't require FDA approval. It's why there's so many like stem cell
Clinics.
yeah, because it's like it doesn't matter. But the thing is that it's also like the usability of something like that is pretty small.
Yeah, and you usually got to do like liposuction or something pretty invasive to get enough to do some procedure with.
Yeah, a lot of times it's like when they inject you with stem cells that they harvested from you, like,
Yeah.
At most they like centrifuge. They like put the extract fat, centrifuge it, try to separate out some, like cells, and then
Inject it back.
inject them. Yeah, it's like
Pretty much.
I should start doing that. Probably can make so much more money.
yeah.
Just open my own stem clinic.
Yeah. Give people teeth in their eyeballs.
We just started doing live streams again, so we're gonna try to do weekly live streams again. But yeah, so there's no special occasion. We're just gonna start doing some biohacking projects and live streams again. And this is the new project that we're starting on, one of them, which involves just like harvesting your own cells, and then engineering them or not engineering them, and then using them to growing them back on your body, which
should be interesting because, like, if you're talking about, trying to engineer tissue, obviously the most accessible piece of tissue on your body is your skin, right?
Yeah.
So if you can engineer skin, that's powerful in terms of like a DIY setting.
Yeah, especially like all from your, you harvest your own cells and stuff like that. Yeah, and it's not too complicated. I mean, so they did CRISPR in this experiment, but somebody got a link. Let's see. Let's see, show link.
You're just tapping on the links people send you.
No, I'm not tapping on it. I'm just like, I assume it's a good link. I don't know.
What if it's not?
I don't know what's gonna happen.
Explosion.
Like, am I
Not funny.
Okay, and for people on my channel, I'll go back afterward if I miss an interesting question and respond to some of them.
Yeah. I forgot what I was talking about. What were we talking about?
Stem cells?
Yeah. We're talking about modifying stem cells.
You said that they...
Yeah, which is, when in something like that, a CRISPR knock-in or something, you can knock in also, antibiotic selection cassette and something like that. But I wonder how easy it would just be to do like plasmid or something. Because like, just like transfect the cells and then, select for something, and then, some short time period, just take those cells and like slap them on your body and, see if they secrete the thing, or use something that's secreted. And, yeah.
Yeah, I think the issue, like, I would imagine they'll eventually lose it once they get no selection, unless you get random integration or something. We could possibly,
Sure, but like how long like you're not, I imagine you're probably not trying to,
Yeah.
if you're going for like some permanent modification, that's not a good thing. But I imagine most of the time you're probably not trying to like
yeah, for an experiment, you definitely
modify
don't.
yourself.
Because if it goes wrong, yeah. I'm guessing if you were doing longer term, you could probably just do random integration or something and be fine, as long as you tested, like, what's it integrating, which I honestly I don't know how long it would express even if it was permanently modified, just because, like, maybe those cells just get outcompeted by the sheer number of other.
Yeah, totally. Or just like, yeah, like how long are those cells going to last, and compared to the whole total population, and whatever. Yeah, I don't know how much it matters, and I guess it also like just really matters like what effect you're trying to get, and like obviously in this, like, there's nothing I really want to permanently.
Right. You don't want to have like Kermit the Frog skin on one cubic inch of your or 1 square inch of your arm somewhere.
Kermit the Frog.
Yeah,
What?
just with some GFP skin kind of thing.
Oh, okay. Sure.
Am I the only one who like? I mean, yeah, stem cells are cool. Like, if you don't overrate them, and you can do them for a lot of useful things. But like every time I just hear the word stem cell, I always think of it as a scam. Like, I don't know. It's been so overused, and like ever since I was a little kid, people would be like, "Yeah, stem cells are gonna change everything." Like right now, it's and every time people say that, and you're just like, so.
Yeah,
Oh,
and it's
but
nice.
then you grow up and you realize that people just want to suck money from grants and stuff like that. So,
Yeah. And also, people just hype shit that they're excited about.
like
Yeah, or use
CRISPR.
like words, like that's the thing. It's like I know in the cellular agriculture community, people grow like meat. Like they're like, we use stem cells from beef to grow, and you're just
Yeah,
like,
right.
they're not like what do you mean they're stem cells? Like, have you tested their stemness? No, you just like took a biopsy and are growing something in a dish, and like call it a stem cells because then you'll get investment.
No, they definitely
And even if you
extract.
do, like a lot of these stem cells, like once you put them in FBS, they immediately like differentiate.
Yeah, turn to fibroblasts. Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
so it's just like, are they really stem cells? Come on, who are you kidding?
Yeah. And that's the thing, because, like, there's like expression is so tied to environment. It's like we fed them a different media and that keeps them stemmy, but it's like, did it or did it just make them grow weird?
Yeah, who knows? Yeah, but stem cell. But yeah, so in this case, like I wonder, and I'll have to like read the paper more. But I wonder how much it matters if they're like stem cells or not, quote unquote stem cells or not, as opposed to, just like fibroblasts or some other just like mixed culture of cells. I know they used, they didn't grow it just on, plastic. They grew it on 3T3 feeder layer.
Okay.
I think that's how they selected for the cell type or whatever, but
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
but yeah, be interesting.
Yeah, and I feel like, even if you can create, like, theoretically, I guess, having stem cells would prolong the expression by having them make more cells, or some kind of reproductively stable cell. And I don't know what all cells actually reproduce in a wound,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Or if they just, yeah, who knows? Do they need to reproduce? Can they just like stay alive?
Yeah.
How long do they need to stay alive? Yeah. So interesting. A lot of these things, especially, have because like there's not much translation to humans. A lot of the research is just like done in mice and done with like what people think or expect to work and make it the most. Uh,
Yeah.
they're not trying to be easy and simple.
Yeah, and that's an interesting thing because that's like always the unexplored space is like simplification and optimization. People are just like, here's a thing that I'm pretty sure will work. It's like 87 steps.
Yeah.
They just do 87 steps.
Yeah.
It's like, okay,
For
but
sure.
can we get it down to 30?
Sometimes I think if like scientists just have OCD and they're like, if I'm not gonna do this step, like everything's gonna go to hell, and just like, I don't know, like you have to repeatedly do some things that are literally like have no point of doing just because someone did that in 1950s and now everyone just keeps doing it that way. It's like a religious belief.
It really is. Like the 4C hold step at the end of PCR.
Oh yeah, like 4Cs. Yeah. Oh
Yeah. Like temperature. He
Yeah.
was talking about like after PCR making the temperature really cold on the reaction.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
you got to have that. Otherwise,
It's
stuff.
just science is pretty annoying because people don't actually believe in it.
Yeah.
Believe the science. Yeah, well, why do you ship me my Tac Master mix and dry ice?
Yeah.
It only extends as far as, the newspaper articles.
Yeah. One thing I think is interesting is like, or one thing I want to know is like with the mice, how much like surface area did they actually modify?
Oh, in the paper? I don't know. What does it say?
I don't know what I'm looking for.
I thought it was pretty small. Yeah.
Yeah. And I wonder how that scales. Like I see like a clump here, but I wonder how that scales. Like if they changed, I don't know, 4%, would 4% scale to a human? Because like surface area and volume, like mass, don't scale together. So let's see. So if you're changing, I don't know. I had to think about how that would work because it might be that you have to do like a bigger surface area per, as you scale up, like relatively larger or relatively smaller.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think they're really clear on exactly how big the size was that
Yeah, I don't think I saw that either.
they talk about the skin graft and stuff like that, but it's not clear.
Yeah. It doesn't look like much though. Like it looks like, at least from the radiance, the like glowing spots look pretty small.
Yeah. But it'll be interesting. Yeah, I don't know exactly how it works. If you actually have to, like I imagine you have to like wound the skin or something like that, right? Like open up. Because like imagine if you just put it on the top layer of skin.
It would just die with all those dead cells.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, they just said that they had just used some surgical like stuff and that's it. I was like, that's like literally like the most interesting part for me is how do you inject cells? Like, what do you do?
This is
Yeah.
always the most aggravating thing for me with papers. It's like this is this thing we spent 5 years doing. Here's the materials and method. It's a paragraph and a half. It's like
Yeah.
5 years of stuff is compressed into this. What do you mean?
Or they'll be just using standard surgical methods explained in like Randall et al. And you're like,
Exactly. At least when they give you a link to something a little bit bigger, there's something there. But yeah,
Yeah.
be good because that's why I like video, because there's like so many little things,
oh yeah.
little hand skills and little like simple things, even like the shape of your tubes and stuff. Like show me all of it so I can see it and watch
I
you
know.
learn so much more.
I think people should start more. Like, there's so little papers that actually have video in it, and every time there is, I'm like a baby. I'm just like, wow, video.
Right. And like it's like, if you're gonna I don't know, fix the engine of your car, you go on YouTube and you watch a video, you wouldn't read a paragraph about it and be like, I got this.
Yeah.
It's like a really
Yeah.
low density
All right.
information method.
I'm on the third paper deep.
so
Like,
you linked methods for Randall et al. Or whatever, and then they linked more methods.
yeah. So here we go. Still trying to find it.
You go back to like written in 1874.
Skin grafting. Yeah, it's like, oh god, come on. Like, just, I think that should just be outlawed. Like, I don't even know how that's allowed. It just doesn't make any sense. Just being like, we did it as described over here. Like, why wouldn't you just say like you're trying to save two sentences?
Yeah.
Yeah. And still, what
I
if
mean-
like you did one step off? Like, and they probably like. I don't
Sure.
think they do copy like exactly like it was described in the paper they're referring to, and then can you like have one paper, next paper, and there's like a cascade of papers, and then the information distorts all the time and just like progressively gets more distorted.
Or like, it's like, yeah, we used this method from 1874, but we used modern lab tools, be like, okay, how?
This paper doesn't even describe how they actually did it.
The Randall et al. Or whatever it
No.
was.
This other,
Yeah, and that's like the most important part of most papers is like abstract, the results, and the materials and methods.
maybe it's like in the supplementary experimental procedures.
Yeah.
There we go. Oh wait, graft experiments. Epidermal cells were separated. Were mixed. Were injected.
Can you maybe share the screen?
Just it still doesn't say. They all say they use nude mice, and so I don't like.
Yeah.
I just like imagine a mice being like,
Of course it says.
like shy.
Of course it says. The dermal cells were injected to a silicone chamber and planted on the back of anesthetized athymic nude mouse, as described in Weinberg et al. 93 and Yuspa et al. 1970.
and then
this is like-
when you go to those
now we're like-
papers,
Now we're like 4 papers, Steve. All right. So we're on the 4th one.
And this was, what was the oldest one? 1917?
1970. Oh, 1970. I wish it was 1917. That would be funny.
Oh,
And the Weinberg et al., they don't even have a citation to. It's just like Weinberg et al. 1993. There's not even
so
like
what they said is just literally that they just injected it under the skin.
I
And
don't
that's
know.
it.
Kinda. I don't know. Maybe.
So like when the original paper that we're talking about, they referred to random et al. Then you go to random et al. And just said inject this, and that's it. Like literally one sentence. So why can't you put that one sentence in the previous paper?
Yeah, and then like still, each person is putting like one sentence more in the previous paper. So we're on like 2 sentences.
yeah. It's
All
like-
papers lead back to a link that just recrolls the shit out of you.
yeah.
I know. Oh god.
It's like the primordial paper that all papers reference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really funny.
Like,
It's just like that's what they should do.
like a 30-second video of them being like, yes,
Every time somebody says like the methods can be found in this other paper, I'm just gonna like SEO the shit out of a website that has the name of that paper. People Google search it, they get rickroll, and then maybe people will stop doing it. ugh. I still don't know exactly what they did. I mean, I can't imagine you could just like put cells on top of the skin
Yeah, seems
and it
very.
would like I imagine you at least have to like remove like when I was doing, the trying to genetically modify my skin, like I imagine you at least have to remove like the top layer of cells or something like that.
Yeah, because I mean, the top
Um
layer of cells is all dead anyway.
yeah. I imagine at a minimum you'd have to do something like that. But it seems like it would be a lot easier to like, you
Yeah,
know,
just like inject like between the fat layer and the skin layer,
so
kind of.
they do talk about like wound healing assays, right? And for those they just do like a biopsy punch and then which I mean that shit would be fairly easy to do, but it also seems like it would be
Yeah,
like it would it would hurt.
yeah. There are ways to do a biopsy without it hurting. I've done them without it hurting,
It
but
would just mean that like if you're doing like wound healing assays, you're just like, all right, here we go.
yeah,
It'd be pretty easy though, because you'd have like a head-to-head comparison. You just make like two biopsy punches right in your arm,
yeah.
and like
Just do like
put
a little.
little cells
Yeah,
on one of them, and
use the other one as a control.
um, yeah. The interesting thing though also is like the chamber or like what is this thing that is like
Yeah, I
how do
was
you
looking
keep
for
this
the cell
alive on
membranes.
like the skin? Because obviously they need to like stay wet or like hydrated or have some media. Um,
What if it's literally just like a band-aid or something?
Saran wrap wrapped
Yeah,
around.
exactly. Some crazy stuff like that. Yeah.
It's like do a biopsy punch, wrap it in saran wrap, pipette the cells on the hole, and then just wrap it in saran wrap.
Honestly, that would not survive me, or that would not surprise me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What if you use like the tattoo healing, like not the tape, but this weird thing that looks
yeah,
like parafilm? What if you use
yeah,
that? Because it
yeah,
lets the air, but
Yeah,
not the water in.
like a semi-permeable membrane.
yeah.
Yeah.
Bacteriocellulose, yeah, just grow
Yeah,
some
honestly,
kombucha.
honestly, those what are those things they put over? It looks like saran wrap, but they put them over tattoos.
Yeah, Sanoderm, they call it
Yeah,
usually.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. I bet that
The
would work.
problem with that stuff is they're like sticky. So you'd have to like, I don't know. It would be pretty similar. Well, yeah, I mean, it like wouldn't be much different than just using like saran wrap or parafilm generally. But yeah, they're good because like they don't like move, so they just like stick to the skin. But the problem is like the whole layer is sticky, so it usually the stickiness will separate where it's wet. So
Yeah,
the secret would just be to like kind of make a part that's
that's
wet
not.
maybe
Yeah,
beforehand and like put it on top of the cells so that doesn't just like have the cells stick to the
I don't know. Just add some Vaseline or something like that.
yeah.
DIY uh,
Or even just like
tips.
some antibiotic ointment or something, just to like also help with the preventing infection or whatever,
Oh yeah, really?
prevent sticking or whatever.
I don't know. You don't put like antibiotics when you get your tattoo, right? So I don't think it's like that important.
Yeah.
I don't. Are the patents on AAVs? I don't know. But the thing is
Doesn't really
like
matter.
anybody can do AAV gene therapy. There's not like anything preventing anybody from doing it. That's like especially if you do it on yourself. The problem is like AAVs generating a significant amount costs a lot of money, and doing it yourself is fairly hard. Anybody who says they can like transfect cells and create AAVs and then eat them and cure their lactose intolerance is full of shit.
Ooh, damn! Finally, some tea, some shade.
It's true.
Because
I,
like companies are built around
Yeah.
generating AAVs in any sort of quantity because the transfection like it's you transfect and you harvest and you can't select and have them continuously produce, so it's like a super high optimization of the transfection. So yeah, producing any amount of AAV, while it's possible, it's not like unreasonable. usually producing a high enough quantity to actually do a gene therapy is pretty tough. Yeah.
It's like same with the DNA. Why won't you just order it from a company to, synthesize whatever you need?
Yeah, and I mean, you could buy kits that purify AAVs and stuff like that. I mean, even off of eBay, but the problem, I mean, they're pretty expensive to begin with. They're like $1,000 for like 5 purifications or something like that.
Yikes.
But getting like not only AAVs, but also being able to test your viral titer, which is not an easy thing either. And so it's just
like ultra centrifuges and shit like that usually.
Yeah, so it's like that's more of a like just it's technically difficult to DIY that because it's not a very efficient process to begin with.
Yeah, and then like even like trying to grow cells in like 50-liter wave bags and all this sort of stuff to get like huge doses. Yeah. A lot of stuff.
Yeah, like getting a lot, like even just getting, the cheapest you can find on the market for getting like a gene therapy dose of AAVs is usually around like $50,000.
Yeah. I priced having some stuff done, I don't know, probably 5 years ago, and it was like 200,000. It was the cheapest I could find if somebody just did the work for me.
Yeah.
What was the cheapest?
It's like 200,000.
200,000?
Yeah, it depends on the gene therapy and like how much, like how systemic it is and all this other stuff. But yeah, it's pretty high because getting that much of a quantity, even if it's not CGMP, just like getting that high of a quantity of
that was definitely not
viral titer.
Yeah.
What do you mean? So it means that some YouTubers can lie about their experiments and then talk shit about other people who actually did a like pretty clear experiment, huh?
Yeah.
Maybe
anything is possible to scale up. That's not the issue. Yeah, it's not like it's not possible to scale up. The thing is like once you're talking about all this stuff, then you're talking about investing a significant amount of resources, time and money into being able to do this thing, which is like, it's like cloning or something like that. Like I'm not going to clone DNA because it's going to take me more time and money than it is just to pay somebody $150 to put this gene in a plasmid.
Yeah.
And so like purifying your own AAVs to get it up a significant quantity and buy all the resources in order to do it, it's going to cost you a significant amount of money. Will it cost you less than some company charges you? Of course, they're making money off of it, right? But like in the end, right? Yeah, it might cost you $25,000 and they charge $50,000, but like,
and they're not like robust. So like even if you like build your giant facility and you do all this stuff and you get the thing and you centrifuge them a little too hard, you kill all your virus and you have to start again. And like you may not know that it's dead, or inactivated or whatever.
Yeah, and it's like something that takes skill and time to learn. It's not like you could just be like, "Ooh, I'm just going to follow these protocols and do this and have a ton of virus." It's like, if you've purified plasmids or DNA and done like a maxi prep or something, even a mini prep, it's like the expected amount that you can get and the amount you actually get are completely different.
Yeah. Like I remember my first mini preps, like doing my best at the beginning. I was getting like 8 nanograms per microliter. It was like so bad. I was like, why do my preps suck so hard? And like
at least you got some.
Few years, you just get way better at it, right? It takes like a lot of practice to get good at it.
Yeah, you learn like what works and what doesn't, and so it's like a proprietary thing that also like somebody is good at, somebody that can do. It's like making making a cake or anything like that. If you just go home today and try to make a cake, like it's probably gonna be okay, but it's probably not gonna be that good. And if you go to a bakery, obviously it's gonna be better because these people do it all the time and they're good at it.
Yeah, that's why a lot of people don't bake their own wedding cakes.
I wonder if some do.
I'm sure
like I could save $500 or whatever, make my own wedding. Like sure, you go ahead and do that.
Yeah, or like do your own, surgery or something. Like,
DIY surgery.
I really need this hip replaced. I can save a lot of money if I do it myself.
Yeah.
It's like there are some things you definitely want the professionals on.
Yeah, and that's
Especially
kind of like one of the things, right?
Yeah.
Because there's like so many points of failure that it's just like even if you do purify a virus, then you have to like titer it, then you have to make sure that it's like pure enough, and all these different steps to like make sure it works and it's functional. Where it's just like, yeah, is it worth it? I don't, even people who are professional, even people who have PhDs like me or professionals like aren't necessarily willing to do it because it's just, yeah, there's so many points where you can just be like, oh shit, I fucked that one up.
Yeah, that's why DNA-based stuff just makes more sense for DIY applications. To me, it's like viruses are just they're so unstable, like so difficult to get right.
Yeah, it's true, and I wish there was more research into that, like using non-DNA based or using DNA based, non-viral based methods of transfection. And it's just like
Oh,
everybody's
I saw a
invested.
paper about transfecting. I saw a comment about what about agrobacterium. I saw a paper about, I think it was transfecting HeLa cells with agrobacterium. It was pretty interesting.
Yeah, there's other actual bacteria though that work a lot better if you're going to do something like that in human cells, right? Um, uh, Chlamydia actually.
It makes
I
sense.
mean, yeah, it actually surprisingly makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's like bacteria and stuff like that like infect cells that like you know
it's supposed
if
to.
Okay, so the next video is gonna be like, how do you how do you extract chlamydia?
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that in the early days of my sperm-mediated gene transfer stuff. That was one of my very first thoughts was agrobacterium because there are papers where they do it with animal cells. I'll have to look into see if anybody's tried to modify sperm with chlamydia before.
yeah.
I mean, probably, but they didn't really mean it, right? It just
Yeah, it'll be
just
interesting
happened.
to do any research on it.
A lot of people do it; they just don't realize it.
Yeah, but
Can
like,
you? But like, sorry for interrupting. Can you imagine like if you publish a paper and it's gonna be like transfecting sperm with chlamydia? You're just like, I did it.
I mean, you don't get out of biology without weird things.
Yeah, it's just a head shaker,
Mm, yeah. What I don't want to know is how you have to source it.
Yeah. you know.
Surgical grade sperm. Where'd you get that? Can I order it from eBay?
Yeah.
I'm sure you can.
Well, honestly, you probably can. There's some website you can.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'd rather
No,
not.
it's funny how they sell like human serum,
Yeah.
like
Like,
for cell culture and stuff.
oh, yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, they sell like human serum for
I thought you
like
could buy like on Etsy or something.
oh no, I doubt it. I don't know, maybe, but yeah, like you go to these websites that sell like fetal bovine serum, and they sell human serum, and it's like $500 for like 50 ml or some shit like that, and you're just
just
like,
do it yourself,
Yeah.
honestly.
It's like I got a human right here. What are you talking about?
Like, come on, in Ukraine, just like pay someone $10 and they'll give you like half a liter.
They just stumble away real woozy.
yeah, what is $10? That like rent an apartment for a month in Ukraine, right?
Not really, but
Just
it's
teasing.
it's McDonald's Big Mac menu for two.
How's the currency doing in Ukraine? Did it like drop
Not
a
good. It's not good. Like obviously they froze the like currency so it
yeah,
doesn't drop more. So like the dollar costs, like before the war it was like 29, 28 hryvnia. Now
yeah,
it's like 31, 32, and it's in euros 35, but it's obviously frozen because like the real
yeah,
would be like 100 because like there's no import, there's nothing, like economy is struggling a lot.
yeah.
What happens
So
when people keep stuff up that you built?
what's up?
So that's what happens when people keep blowing up stuff that you built.
I know. I know.
You know,
Well, at least Russia's economy is struggling too.
I know, but if our economy is struggling more though.
I'm sure.
These things for. I was shitting on America a lot the last stream, but now thank you, America. God bless America for giving Ukraine money and HIMARS and other lethal weapons. Thank you so much. Shout out to America. America.
USA, USA.
USA. Next time I'm gonna learn
Money and illegal
the
weapons. I
anthem.
mean, what's more American than that?
So yeah.
Yeah, it ought to be interesting. I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot of Russian tanks that the javelins took out.
Oh yeah.
It's actually a really interesting missile system.
I like how
Thing
they
is-
put like grills on top that like literally looks like you're gonna do a barbecue and think that it's gonna stop it.
It's not like,
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, that would be a pretty badass barbecue if you just had like an old exploded Russian tank with a grill on top. Just fill it with charcoal and just like roast a
The
whole.
charcoal is Russian soldiers though.
I don't know if I'd eat that pig then. I don't want my pig to have a little like ode to human on it.
Anyway, Daria, you are such a no. I think she just pretends to be a badass. That's
Yeah, I literally like escaped my country 2 weeks after the invasion started.
oh, I don't think
So-
that makes you a wimp. I think you're just literally
Makes me a
are.
pussy.
I don't think that's what it is. Like you know, I would love to see
MOS,
you
what's
fight.
up with the baldness? Dude, just let it go. Just it's okay. Just shave it. It's
Yeah,
fine.
seriously. Like there are things that treat baldness, but usually it's like testosterone blockers or like female hormones. So you can go there if you want.
Just let it go. Just honestly.
My face
Joe,
looks
your
like-
face. I don't know if it's not a. That doesn't sound like a compliment.
No, is that like a compliment?
She's like, yeah, you look nice now, but you used to look like shit. So, it's like, is that a compliment?
I don't know.
So, I don't know.
Daria, where would you move in the world if you could?
Like nowhere like permanently. I would love to travel or like live in a few places. I like Austin, Texas. Nice place, but it's super freaking hot, like super hot, like incredibly. I like Vancouver area, just British Columbia and Canada, because it's absolutely beautiful and it's just a nice place to live, but it's freaking expensive. I also like to live in Amsterdam. It's a beautiful city. And obviously Dnipro and Kiev is also a very, very nice city.
Wow, that's a lot of a
Yeah.
lot of options there.
Yeah, but like nowhere permanently. Like my base is Dnipro, like but I can go whatever, I guess.
Yeah.
I know at this point I'm just like I can do whatever with my life. I don't even know what to do. There's so many options. I'm just like that's why I don't do anything. Haha.
Become like a
You're just
become a
drowning in it.
TikTok influencer.
What's that?
Become a TikTok influencer.
Best thing on TikTok is still y'all's dance that y'all did like a year ago.
I deleted my TikTok account after that.
It was pretty hilarious.
Cringe. But yeah,
Cringe? What are you, Gen
I
Z?
kind of love Austin right now. Yeah, Austin I think it's a really fun place. There's a lot of stuff to do and a lot going on. And yeah, it's hot, but it's like, I mean, even if you weren't in Austin, no matter where you were, you probably spend like 80% of your time indoors anyway, working or doing whatever. So it's not so bad. Yeah, there's some times where it's annoying. You like you want to go out to eat, but you don't want to sit outside or something like that. But like,
Yeah. But I feel like
and like
it's just like a general problem in America. You don't really walk anywhere because you need a car because of gentrification.
it's
So
so
it's
weird that
kinda-
people talk trash about Texas because it's like, have you ever been to Austin or like lived in Texas?
But Austin is different from Texas.
Like any big city is, and there's a lot of big cities in Texas, and like
Yeah.
it's
Because
funny.
Dallas
because
is absolutely boring.
if you go to like a small town in any state, even California, like most of California is red. you know, like, or Republican, you know, like it's very conservative. If you go anywhere in
Austin is super
California, it's
gay.
not a big city, but like Austin is, it's like any, I've lived all over, you know, I've lived in Chicago, I've lived in San Francisco, and like, you know, it's like no different. I don't know. It's like probably more accepting because people just don't give a shit. They're just like, do whatever you want, you know? Um, we don't care. It's very libertarian, you know? I wish cannabis was legal, but besides that,
Yeah,
you know, it's,
I think he's gonna get there.
yeah, I think so. But it's like, it's a really cool place. And I think I'll probably live here for a while. And it's a nice central location. You know, you want to travel, you want to do stuff, you can go to either coast in a pretty short amount of time. And
I
yeah,
think I think it is going to probably become like a bigger sort of like biotech and technology hub.
Yeah.
It's big
yeah,
game.
for sure.
It
You
also
know,
has
that's what we're
great
hoping for.
nature. Like if you like to hike, absolutely beautiful. Like where I lived, it was like 3 minute walk, and there's a creek, there's deers, and there's like I was just
Yeah,
shocked to see
I know
deers
about it.
walking in my neighborhood. Like I just walked to the car, and there's like deer mama with the deer babies, and like it's something you never see in Ukraine. Maybe somewhere like rural Ukraine, but not like in a 1 million city. You know.
I
Yeah,
remember when you saw that armadillo. Like,
Oh my gosh, and the armadillos. I love Austin.
uh,
Armadillos are the cutest.
yeah, I've never seen
yeah,
Literally
for
armadillo in a
that
parking
excited
lot.
about an
What the
armadillo
heck?
in my life.
it's great. You should come to Austin. Yeah, we're really trying to build something here. Hopefully, biotech and art and science and all this cool stuff. There's a really cool scene here. This Friday we have our first Friday, which is like, if anybody is in Austin or in the area, feel free to come to the Odin. I'm sure you can find the address online pretty easily just by searching
Yeah.
the Odin. But we have networking events. People just come hang out, drink some beer or soda pop, and talk about whatever. We've been doing art shows and a lot of cool stuff. We have the Biohack Planet conference coming up in September. Um, yeah, I think we're really gonna, Austin's really gonna be a cool place. I mean, it is a cool place, but I mean, like in biotech and stuff like that. Really trying to build a scene here, make it bigger than what it was. Not to undermine anybody, you know, there wasn't a scene, undermine people's efforts who were here before, but yeah, it's cool.
The
Odin
Odin
already, yeah.
moved
A
last year.
year ago.
We are not hiring, and I don't know, you know, yeah, when or if we will. It's one of those things. It's just like depends on a lot, the economy and how much sales we have and what's going on, and you know. But
Armadillo's
Oh
so
no.
interesting.
Oh no.
I mean,
It also has a bowl already, like built in. The armadillo, like it's already
yeah,
is a bowl, so you can. It's actually it's super sad. They're so cute. Why would you do that? Also, how do you catch them? They're so fast. I was trying to like keep up with that when I was running around the Odin parking lot to like look at it or and say hi, and we're just running around.
yeah. They have really bad vision though, so you can sneak up on them pretty easy.
Oh, I feel so bad for them.
Yeah, yeah, that's one thing. You know, I'm about an hour south of Austin, so I've got a pretty decent commute. But I'm happy the roads are pretty good here. You know, like especially compared to you
I
know.
love David.
So
You're simple person, simple desires.
Yeah,
you
simple
know,
man. Yeah, roads are good.
it is what it is.
Good
Yeah.
enough for my truck.
I got a new car.
You got a new car? What is it?
It's like a hybrid because 80 miles
Oh
a day,
wow.
15
Austin
miles per
changed you,
gallon.
man. Austin changed you.
I
Last time I
know.
was there, David had like a rusty F-150,
I
like
still
a
have the rusty F-150. Let's not pretend it's
okay,
gone.
good. I feel bad because I polished it for you. using Joe's car. Oh, about drama. Someone asked about drama. Yeah, a year ago when I was working at Biohacken, I was driving one of Joe's cars, and when I was pulling out of the parking lot, I hit David's car with Joe's car, and I almost cried. And it was like my third day at the Odin, and I was like, I am getting deported back to Ukraine.
Oh God.
Yeah, you can't hurt that truck though.
Uh, I mean, it was a little, but like it felt pretty intense. I
Yeah.
thought that it was like it's messed up, but then I look at your truck and it literally just polished the rust off your bumper.
You gotta have a thick enough. That's why you gotta have a thick enough layer of dirt. It's protected.
Protective, yeah.
It saves the paint.
Those
Yeah.
were the good times.
Yeah, the fun
Yep.
times.
But I get way better gas mileage now, and with my commute and the price of gas, it was not sustainable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Especially what it is now.
Did you get a
Gosh.
Prius?
Ford Fusion.
Okay.
I had a Prius before, but they're so fragile. Like you can hit a stick in the road and total it. I mean, they're just like that's what happened. Like there was a dog, a neighbor dog, and my wife hit the dog, and the dog was fine. The
Oh,
dog was not harmed, but it totaled the Prius.
what? How did that happen? Maybe it's that is such a safe car that you like can't kill anyone. Just like bends.
Yeah, you're just driving an airbag around. Yeah, it like wrecked the radiator and stuff, but the dog would just walk it off. It was fine. It was like a lab. It was like not a huge dog or anything.
What university do you recommend to study genetics? Is it necessary to study first medicine? I have 2 months before I graduate high school. No, don't. Medicine is like a pain in the ass to study. All my friends who went to med school are depressed alcoholics now.
Yeah,
I mean, graduate school probably the same, but no, I mean, like school is like it doesn't matter where you go. Like school is generally going to be pretty similar. Sure, if you go to like a really big fancy
Fancy,
school,
yeah.
it's going to be slightly different. But like in terms of the skills and the things you're going to learn, it's going to be pretty similar. Maybe access
Yeah.
to lab stuff, but like it's so fake nowadays. People be like, "Here's the research project I worked on in my university," and it's like curing cancer cells by genetically engineering these stem cells using CRISPR. And you're like, you didn't do that shit. Like some graduate student gave you some cells and some plasmids to add to the wells, and like that's it. It's just obviously the better school you go to, the more opportunities it has in the future. But in terms of like learning things, like it's not going to be like so drastically different that you couldn't just spend a month after university like in your own lab and learn the exact same stuff or be more or better.
Yeah. I didn't get into universities I wanted to in Ukraine. I didn't have good enough grades for my exams. So I went to like whatever university was convenient to me, and I think it was a good idea because just pick a university where you think it'll be just convenient for you to live in, to grow in, to do things you like. So it's not too distracting, but at the same time, it still has some value in my opinion. Because I mean, I shit on my university a lot, and I had a lot of beef with my university, but I'm actually grateful I went there. Especially when you go to poor university, you learn a lot how to improvise, and you do a lot of shitty work. But it's kind of like military; it disciplines you.
yeah. I never even went to high school, so
See.
No, we like the thing is lamp PCR, any sort of diagnostics, like it's a sketchy area to be in. We definitely avoid providing things that in any way could be used for diagnostics because there's so much experimental error that's involved. It's just like there's no point. Like if you want to do it, if you're gonna do it, like you should know how to order the materials anyway. If you have
Yeah.
no idea what you're doing, so much so that you can't even order the materials to do the PCR reaction yourself, then you probably shouldn't be doing it.
yeah. I mean,
you
none
know,
of us are
at
just
least
doing.
not to like diagnose anything, right?
Yeah, it's just like how do you create? Yeah, exactly. If you're just doing it as like an experiment to have fun, then whatever. But yeah, if you're like do I have Crohn's disease or something? It's probably not the way to go about it.
Yeah, don't
go
do
to
that.
the medical doctor, get the
Yeah.
test. It costs like less than $50. Like,
Yeah, you can put that effort into something more valuable.
yeah, because it's just like you have to understand that like diagnostics are like if you're even if you're like 99% correct, which is hard, you know, in and of itself to have you know, that little experimental error, because considering you're like pipetting and doing stuff, that means 99 out of 100 times you're correct. That's still like 1 in 100 people is going to get the wrong result, and more likely your error is going to be much higher, right? It's going to be like, you know,
First time.
70% or 60% or something like that, right? And it's like, yeah, you know, like even if you're 80% correct, that means 1 in 5 tests you run are going to be wrong. And so it's like,
Yeah.
I don't really want people going around being like, I tested this and that and this and I got this result. It's like, I mean, how much can you trust the result? Do you have like proper controls? Do you have all this stuff?
Oh
Like
yeah.
it's not a simple question as like, did you run the PCR? And like the PCR gave me the desired result, right? And so it's like when we did our ELISAs for the COVID vaccine, you know, it's like we had a bunch of different controls. We had a bunch of different samples, so we could have a timeline, so we could show changes over time. Because even just like one sample showing that there was a change is like, sometimes with these tests, the experimental error, it's enough to like
Just be random.
Yeah, false
Yeah.
positives and false negatives just happen even if you do everything correctly, even if you have been doing these tests for like 10 years.
And it's also why we did everything in duplicate anyway.
triplicate or yeah.
We did triplicate, but you and I both did
Oh
triplicate.
yeah. So it's just like, yeah, diagnostic testing is like do at your own risk, and even then, sometimes it's like kind of sketchy because it's just like there's a lot. There's an art to it to a certain extent.
Yeah, it's like,
Like,
you know, those like undergrad students are gonna like beat you up on that skill because they're like not getting paid enough, but they do like 100 tests a day, so they like literally
Yeah.
know like if you reason it wrong, it's gonna give a false positive or
exactly.
false negative.
Yeah.
Would you guys consider posting educational content similar to Crash Course?
I think that's
I'm
literally
actually-
all we do is post educational content.
We used to have more educational content, but then YouTube made us take it down.
No,
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean we still
maybe
have all the
it was
stuff
too
up, like,
educational.
if you go to the Odin YouTube, youtube.com/the Odin Inc. There's a ton of free courses that we have. Obviously, like all of our courses are like hands-on, so you should buy the materials. But if you go, I mean, go to the Odin website, you know, goddamn, and like that's all we have is classes. We have a bunch of different classes. Obviously, the classes aren't free because we have to sell materials so you can learn to do hands-on. I think in science, like just theoretical knowledge isn't very useful.
Yeah.
And like we have kits that are as inexpensive as like $34 or $35 or something like that. And so like you should get hands-on experience with the technology if you want to learn to do it. You know, it's one of those things. It's like trying to learn to play the guitar by reading a book. Like you're eventually going to have to buy a guitar because it doesn't matter how much you know about playing the guitar. Like you're going to have to play it. Like you're not going to get any better by reading more.
Yeah, for sure.
But also the CDC has our own website, which we probably haven't updated in a little bit.
A year, 2 years? Oh my gosh, it's been 2 years. What?
Yeah.
I think we definitely did like updated some chicken cell stuff, but I think that's the wrong one. Wait, it's like the-cdc.com.
Did you just put what is it? Center for Disease Control website?
I don't know what the CDC.com is. It's available for $600,000 if you want to buy it.
Without the dash.
Yeah.
If
Like
the
somebody.
entire screen turns red, you're in the right place.
Yeah, it's blindingly rare. I love it. But yeah, the CDC website, we have protocols for like, primary cell culture and all the information on, what we did with our vaccine and all the protocols and, experimental procedures and everything like that. Uh,
For MOS's question here, yeah, a normal freezer will do.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, scientists, -80s aren't really that useful. We've learned over time experimenting and stuff like that. In the case of like storing human cells and stuff like that, you really do need one. And mammalian culture and human cell culture and animal cell culture, it's pretty important. But I think generally for somebody who's trying to work even with human cells, like you could just continuous culture them, and I've done that, and David's done that, and Daria's done that, where you just keep the cells alive for like a year.
Yeah.
And then you end up spending, like, I don't know, the Odin, we sell HEK cells for $100. So even if you have to spend $100 every 6 months, like that's pretty damn good,
Yeah, I mean, I was
Yeah.
able to keep mine alive in my shed in Mississippi for like well over a year.
Yeah, or you can just get some liquid nitrogen. I know how expensive it is in the USA, but in Ukraine, I had like a 40 liter. I had a big tank for
Yeah.
nitrogen. So to fill it up, it was like 40 liters or 38 liters. It cost like, what is it, 700 grivnas, which was like $20.
Yes.
And it
Yeah, I
lasts
think.
like 3, 4 months.
Yeah, I was using like 10-liter liquid nitrogen dewars, and it lasts like a month, and it was probably like 20 or $30 to fill up. And I would just like, I have two, so just when one was starting to get low, go fill up the other one and just transfer the cultures over. Yeah, so
You
I
can
mean,
also use, sorry for interrupting, you can also use just like a thermos, a big thermos when you need to fill up the new. I did that. Like I literally put it in like a small flask that I put my tea in. So like in case you do need to freeze stuff, liquid nitrogen is kind of pain in the ass, but it's much cheaper than -80.
yeah. No, you don't need a clean box. None of us use like flow hoods or anything like that, and things work fine. Common misconception. I mean, there's so many misconceptions because people try to do science the exact way it's done in academia, but it's just like that's not like the way it needs to be done. People just do that because they're especially being anal. You know, have we tried using -20 C for long-term storage? Yes, for human cells and stuff like that. It doesn't. I tried so many different things. It was extremely difficult. I mean, I could get some cells, I think, to survive for like 2 weeks, or something, but that's not really that useful. Um, so obviously with bacteria and yeast and stuff like that, you could just throw them in any old freezer and they'll last, a good amount of time. Competent cells, they end up going bad within, 3, 4, 5 months.
Although they usually don't die, they just kind of lose their competence.
Yeah.
They
But like,
be competent again.
yeah, but like normal glycerol stocks, they can last forever just in your normal fridge freezer.
Yeah. Although I do
Normal.
find a lot of them will drop their plasmids after about a year or so.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. At least in my freezer.
Yeah, but there's a lot of things you can change, and I think people are afraid of that because it's the way it's done and it's the way it's worked. But it's just like you don't have to do that stuff. You don't need like a flow hood. You don't need a CO2 incubator. You don't need all this stuff. Like David worked in the shed and Daria worked in her basement.
Yeah,
I
infested
worked
with
in the
mold. I
kitchen.
did I did build like a, because I had a very big space. Like it was very big and it was basement, so it's cold and then it's mold. I just literally built like a tent. So I just separated space, from all the other stuff that was going around, and I was just trying to be super clean, and it worked so well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was in basically a shed in the woods that didn't even have a real door. It was just a piece of like the plywood that was the wall was like cut into a big rectangle with hinges on it, so it didn't like close or anything. And like every time you open it, just like all the stuff that's in the world in the woods just blows right in.
It's like
We should
5
have
feet by 5 feet.
Yeah,
we should have preserved David's shed, like, and put it in a museum.
Probably still there. You
it's
know?
still there. Yeah, yeah. The guy who bought the place after I moved, he's a dog breeder, so he's using it for dog breeding.
Oh, so it's serving its purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, you can do this stuff anywhere. I mean, yeah, I remember when I tried to purify RNA for the first time, because everybody in like science, that everybody says it's like the hardest thing to do, purifying RNA, because RNases are everywhere and they contaminate everything. And I remember when I first was working on genetically modifying my skin cells, and wanted to test the gene expression. And so the way to do that is you purify the RNA, right? The mRNA, and then do RT-PCR and see if you're expressing this transgene. And I remember the first time I purified RNA in like the dirtiest fucking garage.
Oh, this was
like,
in Oakland?
Yeah, no, this was it was near Oakland, but yeah. And it was just like, oh my God. And then I remember when I actually purified RNA, and I was just like, what the shit? Like, everybody told me that, like, there's no way this was possible to do this in anything but like a dedicated room with a flow hood, wearing 6 masks and 3 pairs of gloves, and spraying RNase away on everything. And I realized that that's completely not true. And it's just like a lot of these things that people say, like generally if somebody's like, it needs to be done this way, and you're like, wait, can't you do it this way? And they're like, no. And you're like, why? And they're like, because. Then it's like they're full of shit. Like,
because it's traditional values.
Yeah,
my granddad used to do that. This is how we do it here.
Yeah, there's just so much dogma in methodology. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and everything. Austin says you're all a treasure. I wish I was wealthy enough to be a absurdly generous patron of your work. Thanks, Austin. I wish you were wealthy enough. I wish wealth upon you. I really do.
So humble.
Because sometimes I get messages where people are like, when I get famous, I'm going to take you with me, and I'm like, well, thanks, I guess.
What does that mean?
I'll go. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, good luck. I like the time for glowy beer. I'm actually thinking about making some mead this weekend. Bust out the old glowing yeast.
Yeah.
I haven't made mead in like 2 years.
Yeah, that's true. I definitely want to get back into, because I've been doing fermentation stuff, different fermentations, making miso and kimchi and trying to make other things. But yeah, it'd be interesting to get back into mead making.
Yeah. I went ahead and bought 5 pounds of honey.
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah. I might even use my my bioreactor this time. Make a big batch.
Oh yeah! Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah. It's like 10 liters.
10 liters of mead. That'll keep you.
You could go for a little while.
Or maybe not, depending.
It's probably like
How hard do you want to hit it?
one party at the Odin.
Oh, geez.
Do any of you guys do in vivo? What do you mean? I'm not gonna answer without my lawyer.
I mean, there's some old videos that will definitely demonstrate some stuff.
That'd be a cool T-shirt, though. Like, I do in vivo.
In vivo what?
Biohackers do it in vivo.
No, someone is gonna steal your idea and copyright it and
That's
sell
okay.
merch.
That's okay. I'll buy the merch. So.
That's not how you do business, David.
tell you, it's going to be good. I'm looking forward to getting some stuff growing. I'm happy with my garden. I need to get some of those CRISPR tomatoes. I saw somebody posted on Facebook getting
I
into some
think
of
it was
the.
JK.
Yeah, G-Kong,
Yeah, we need to.
CRISPR tomato. If
And
anybody wants to
he like, I mean, I love his video because he just did like unboxing CRISPR tomato. So he just literally unboxes tomatoes and then eats it, and he's like, tastes the same. And I was like, this is the most genius video of all time.
yeah,
Yeah, we just have like GMO mead and CRISPR tomato party.
yeah, but that's what we're looking for. If anybody is in Japan and
What's a
doesn't
blocker slash bottleneck you face the most often in biohacking? Being poor.
yeah, like any other science, just money.
Yeah. Like how we all like didn't even have to blink about it. It's like it's money. It's definitely money.
Oh.
Yeah. Does Dr. Zahner's youthful appearance have anything to do with his microbiome experiment or any other endeavor? Yeah, no, it has to do with the gender transition. So
This is how you hack your youth.
take estrogen. It's so funny when people ask that because it's like it's definitely not the answer they're looking for.
Yeah.
I mean,
There's probably an overlap where there's some people who are like,
Maybe wanted to try that.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I feel like though, like the transhumanism community is like really broy slash like
Yeah.
cis het male, like, yeah.
Although I will say, like, I used to have to shave for fit testing respirators at work when I worked in the oil industry. And every time I shave, I look like I'm 8 years old.
You do.
I
Yeah.
never seen David without his beard.
It's because I look like I'm 8 years old.
It's anti-aging stuff for you.
Yeah, so, they could do it, but I don't think any of them have
Yeah.
they're not that into anti-aging. That's how you know, right? Usually when people are like, "Oh, how do I get younger, look younger?" and it's like, well, first eat healthy, then don't
Sleep
smoke
well.
or like drink, yeah, exercise daily, and
And
Get lots of
maybe
sleep.
you will
No need
live
for
2 years longer in this miserable world.
but
Yeah.
people are like, "No, it's too hard. You gotta do something easier." Like, can I
Yeah.
take metformin or something?
Yeah. Everybody just wants a pill, right? That's my whole thing. Is it's just like,
Jennifer Doudna said that 25 years from now, we should see CRISPR and genetic modifying as a baseline slash solid procedure in modern medicine. How do you see it? Is it a too optimistic view? I mean, we know how the world works, sadly. Yeah, we know that Jennifer Doudna patented her CRISPR, so now, of course, she wants to make as much money as possible and advertises as heck as possible. So
yeah. I think it's too optimistic in the other way than what this is probably thinking. So I don't think it's like too optimistic to imagine that we will be doing gene editing in medicine in the future. I think it's too optimistic to think CRISPR will still be around and not be replaced by something much, much better in 25 years.
Or yeah, just that like, it takes on average 10 years for a drug to be approved by the FDA. So let's say if you start, it's not like all of a sudden, and so far there's what, like 2 or maybe 3 gene therapies that are approved. So we're talking like on average there's like 1 gene therapy approved every 5 years or 10 years. So just even just based on regular data, it's like, what do you mean by like widespread or like in use? Like, does that mean that you have like 3 more gene therapies in the next 25 years? Because that's at this rate, that's what it's gonna be. It's not like there's gonna be 100 different gene therapies. Yeah, and like CRISPR is it's very specific. There's not like a lot of things that it can be used to treat or you want to use it to treat. So I think it's definitely over optimistic to, obviously she's trying to pump up the stock prices of the company she has a lot of stock in.
It might be
Mm.
like a part of other things like CAR T or something like that. But yeah, just being like, we're gonna CRISPR your disease away, probably not. Or whatever it will be very much better than CRISPR. Although I
Yeah.
do think it's likely that somewhere in the world we'll realize that there's a lot of money to be made on everybody else's medical slowness, and they'll just be like, "Come get your whatever here," in medical tourism. So like, whether it's available to medical tourists or like the average person in Europe or the U.S. or Asia or wherever.
Yeah, and the cost, just so they're all ridiculous. So it's very limited in access. So, you know, it's just who knows. You hope society changes, but like realistically, the system is, it's always gonna fuck you.
Yeah.
And like Moderna, it's so funny because did you know Moderna never had a drug like before
Yeah.
the coronavirus vaccine? And it's funny because like I don't think Moderna is really on to anything. This technology has been around forever, and people have been trying to use it forever. It's just for some reason people glommed onto that vaccine, and the government paid a shit ton of money for it.
Yeah.
But like, there's no reason that like RNA really it's worse in a lot of ways than so many other things, right? Because RNA has a much shorter half life than DNA or many other things. That's why there was that whole freezer thing where you needed like special freezers and all this
Yeah,
stuff because
negative.
RNA degrades fast and stuff like that. So it's just like, um, yeah, because it's like, so it's maybe, but like, I don't really see it. It's not like something that's just like, ooh, wow, yeah, that's it. No, I mean, it has all the same problems as everything else has always had. It's not like it's this new thing that's all of a sudden going to change everything. No, I mean, it's the same that it's always been. And, I'm sure they might come up with one or two drugs in the next 10 or 20 years. But besides that, they're probably just going to be riding that billions of dollars that they made from COVID for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I invested some money in them with like Robinhood with like before they got approved because like they're definitely going to get approved. So of course their stock price is going to jump.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you guys think of the term biohacker? Do you think it's the same as naturalist or amateur biologist? It's interesting.
None of the above.
I don't really care.
Yeah. I feel like it's honestly, I still hate people who are biohackers and what they do is like they use like bioactive stuff and how to sleep and how to live 120 years and bulletproof biohackers and all that bullshit. But at this point, I'm just like, whatever. I just do my thing.
I was thinking
There's
about that the
like,
other day. People add butter to their coffee, but isn't like cream the same thing as butter?
Yeah.
no,
I mean, what
it's
about
butter.
salted butter? Do you use
Isn't
salted butter? Or
butter
do you use
just like
salted
turned cream?
sugar? Yeah, it really is. Like, what if you put what's the difference between churned and whipped? Like,
I was thinking about that. I was like, what? Isn't cream the same thing as butter? You're such a scam. Putting butter in your coffee is the same thing as putting cream in your coffee.
yeah.
What a scam. Whoever convinced people to do that, like, wow, what a
Yeah.
scam.
Just
That
put
dude made so much money. I feel like the more bizarre and like obvious your scam is, the more money you're gonna make. And this is why we're poor because we're true.
it really is. Thought about that a lot. It's like, man, honesty sucks. The it's funny because like, uh, if you like the term biohacker, like a lot of people ask me about that, and it's like to me, I think names come to reflect the things that they are over time rather than the other way around. So like a lot of people are like, oh, I'm a biologist or I'm a biohacker, I'm a DIY, whatever. I don't care. Like eventually, like if you just say I'm a biohacker and this is what I am, and you do that long enough, then that's what the word becomes to me.
Yeah, and it's not just that. It's also just like you don't get to choose the name, like, right? Because the longest time people tried to call it DIY biologists, and then the press kind of just picked up the name biohacker and went with it. And like, you can't change it. You can't be like, all right, everybody, now when you write stories, I want you to not write biohacker. I want you to write this other thing. It doesn't work that way, right? Because like the name has already been ingrained in society as a way to define this thing. It's like trying to change the name of anything. right? You can't just all of a sudden be like, change the name of something, let's everybody call it, like in Chicago, the Sears Tower. They like sold the naming rights of this building to this other people. It's supposedly called the Willis Tower now, but like everybody in Chicago still calls it the Sears Tower, right? Doesn't matter. Like it's stuff like that. Like, yeah, you can try to like buy it and tell people that this is what it's called and like try to force people, but like people are going to call it what they call it. You don't really have a say in that. Sure, every time I do a talk or I'm interviewed, I could be like, I'm not a biohacker, I'm a crypto naturalist or something. Like, nobody gives a shit. People are still going to use the term biohacker.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, we got the question again. Am I younger and younger? Did I find
Fountain of Youth? Is that Fountain of Jack Daniels?
Yeah, no, I didn't.
When you drink enough of the Fountain of Jack Daniels.
I didn't get any younger. Yep. No. But yeah.
Josiah is honestly just like sucking the years from me. I used to be young.
Austin, I appreciate what you're saying, but you have to understand that, like, not only did I grow this company from zero and my own personal brand huge, like, I know an awful lot about marketing and PR. It's I would dare to say I'm actually really good at it to get to the place I am today, both professionally and personally. I've even tried to hire PR companies in the past, and they couldn't even do close to the have close to the amount of influence I could personally, because like people want to hear from me. People love the raw, unedited version, and so I have so much more influence in what I say and do, and it's so much effect. And sure, you could spend $1 billion and try to convince people, say that like there's another term than biohacker, but that's like, number one, I don't have $1 billion to spend on that, and number two, if I did, I wouldn't spend it on that because I still don't give a shit.
Yeah. And as far as like people having the wrong idea, it's like there's nothing you can do about that. Like, you could try to like rebrand yourself, but honestly, like
just do what you do and try to do cool shit.
Yeah, because it'll just like if you just say, "Oh, I'm a DIY whatever," people will just they'll just
separate
follow the word.
Yeah.
Like, be like, "Oh, well, biohackers are trying to kill the world," and they're like, "Oh no, we're not biohackers anymore. We're DIY biologists." Like DIY biologists are trying to kill the world. Like we're not DIY biologists anymore. We're whatever. So they're trying to kill the world. It doesn't matter. It's just gonna follow.
Yeah, and like I don't view that stuff as bad. A lot of people do. They're like, "Ooh, PR problem," or something like that, and like I'm from the school of PR that like no press is bad press, unless it's like you killed somebody or sexually assaulted somebody. I think generally most press is good press, even if they say you're going to destroy the world.
Yeah.
And
happened
like,
already.
Nobody ever says like something's going to destroy the world if it's like something boring and dumb. Yeah. It's like a good thing. It means that it's a powerful technology that people are keeping their eyes on and interested in.
Yeah, I remember in New Scientist there was one big like yellow banner over the article. It was like biohazards in the shed. It's like literally nothing in my shed was biohazards.
Yeah, I know. I remember when Ukrainian bloggers started talking about me brewing vaccine in pots in my kitchen.
Pots?
Pots, yeah, like cooking pots.
Oh, pots. Okay. I was thinking like pod people, but okay.
Pod people. What are pod people?
What is that?
It's an old sci-fi movie.
Such a geek. Sometimes I think, okay, yeah, David is a geek. Like, I understand the depth of his geekness, but then he just says something like this, and you're like, what is even that? Like, that's not even remotely, like, relative to anyone.
I just assumed y'all were cool enough to know about the pod people. My mistake.
But why would pod people be making that? I'm really confused.
Yeah.
I heard pods. I blame Daria's accent.
Oh wow. You're going there.
I remember that.
See, luckily I don't have an accent.
Anyway, POTS, yeah.
I'm deeply offended.
Makes sense.
Do you guys work with review boards? No. If you do they compromise both academic and non-academics? If not, how? The thing is like you have to understand that review boards don't actually do anything beneficial.
Yeah, exactly.
Shade. Yeah, they can stop
I've had a lot of
from.
biohackers try to like, let's start a biohacker review board thingy, but it's like all that's going to happen is the people like you're like, oh, this is not ethical, you shouldn't do it. The people who are going to do things that you don't think are ethical are just going to be like, nah, you're wrong, I'm doing it anyway.
Yeah, it's like what
You do.
yeah, like sure for academic science and stuff like that because everybody, there's federal funding and people have to be like proper about things, but like what am I going to do? Am I going to like test a vaccine on somebody that doesn't know it? Well, I'm going to go to jail for that. It doesn't matter if the review board approved it or didn't approve it.
Right?
Like, you
Yeah.
know, so the thing is, the funny thing about biohacking, which is the way it should be, is that like you're operating within the law, and like if you operate outside the law, you're going to go to jail or be prosecuted. So like just operate within the law and you'll be fine. Like, what do you need an ethical review board or anything like that for? You
Yeah.
know?
And if you disagreed with them, would you actually stop the work that you care about?
Yeah.
Or if you didn't, like if they said, yeah, that's ethical, and it was, and you didn't agree with them, I mean, like it just doesn't make sense. None of it makes sense. It's like
Yeah.
without some sort of enforcement authority, it's a meaningless step.
Yeah. It's just people to like, make themselves feel better.
Yeah.
Look, I did this thing and they said it's okay. So it's just like, well,
It either is or it isn't.
yeah,
Yeah.
are you breaking the law or you're not breaking the law?
Yeah.
If you are breaking the law, like you're going to go to jail anyway. You don't need somebody to tell you that.
I know, because
Yeah.
like you could be on the stand, judge is like, "What were you thinking?" And you're like, "Well, I mean, these 7 friends of mine said it was fine."
So
Well,
academics,
unfortunately, I do not own a javelin yet.
Well, when you get to Ukraine, if you pick one up,
Yeah.
you have to bring it back to Texas. We'll shoot it at something.
I know my friends are like, well, I announced that I'm coming to Dnipro. They're like, are you bringing more HIMARS and javelin? I'm like, yeah, let me just pick it up. No, they just in Germany, in the EU, you just come to the closest NATO base. Where I live in Doveren, it's 10 kilometers north, and you just show your Ukrainian passport and you fill out a form, and they give you 3 javelins to go. If you want 4, you need to pay $20 plus for tax. I mean, I kind of want to own because with javelins and laws and all those things, they're like single use, right? So like you have this huge bazooka that you like shoot, like, and then it's just like it's there, it's waste. So I'm pretty sure like by the end of the like war, a lot of people are just gonna have it like in their houses as like a trophy.
I mean, I
oh
would
yeah,
pull up a tank in from an invading army with a javelin. I'd so mount that shit on my wall, right? Like the empty like launch tube.
I don't
Definitely
know.
going on my
Or
wall.
maybe it's just David would probably just like have that tube and like brew beer there or something. I don't know. Like he would
beer.
use it, yeah, for some.
Or like
I just like
grow roses out of it or something.
I know because like David is like on the apex of bricolage. Like I saw your post from like 3 days ago of how you did a multi-channel pipette, and I was shocked, disgusted, and impressed at the same time. And it's not a bad thing.
It didn't work that good though. Is the problem? Like I couldn't get it to be consistent.
Yeah.
Testing deleterious mutations in dogs. No, I've never worked on testing deleterious mutations in dogs.
Work on treating.
Yeah, I worked on trying to
No, it says treating.
fix them and make protocols that make it easier to fix them. But no, it's never like, let's see if this mutation causes dogs to have, diabetes or whatever.
That's bullshit. The javelin stuff. Why civilians? Well, what do you mean? They do actually give us javelins, like everyone, especially that people in Europe who are Ukrainian refugees are women and kids. So, if you have 3 kids, you get 3 more javelins. That's how it works.
So one for each kid.
Yeah.
Uh,
All right. Any questions? Anybody got questions? We've been doing some questions. We'll take some questions for a few more minutes, and then you know,
oh man.
Flack. What? Would you surrender? Like, Russians can't even overthrow Putin. Well, maybe because Russians will kill us anyway, and because Russia is a colonist and we have been a colony for the last 300 years, and they've been trying to destroy our culture, our language. There has been genocide, there has been famine. My grandparents were starving. Half of my family died because of starvation, the other half died because of the war caused by Russians. My grandparent had to find a dead fish to feed his family for 5 weeks caused by Bolsheviks and all the other stuff. So I don't think democratic Ukraine should surrender to autocratic Russia that tries to expand more and more and would never stop in Ukraine and go further to Poland and Baltic countries. And maybe you should just educate yourself about the stuff that's going on. And it's very unethical to say stuff like this.
I get nothing. Yeah. Yeah, damn.
I used to just like, it's something that just I just get so angry about, but then I'm like, okay, people are uneducated. Like, who even knows about Ukraine, right? People think that Ukraine is part of Russia, whatever. But now I just try to educate people. So yeah, just try to educate yourself. And it's not in the case of surrender. If we do surrender, we're gonna get killed anyway. So think about that.
Yeah, and it
And
feels
it's
like
not.
if it was the U.S., I mean, I wouldn't want the U.S. to surrender to the invading army.
Слава Україні. So yeah, no, I understand the point, right? You're just like, yeah, war is stupid. It's 21st century, but it's like you wouldn't tell a woman who's getting raped, just don't fight back. You're getting raped anyway. Just let him finish. Don't say that, right? So just scale this stuff. Honestly, it would be so satisfying because Russia will fall at the end, and it would be so satisfying for all the like other Eastern European countries and like Czechia, Estonia, Poland, and all the other badass countries are helping us so much to end Russian colonialism. So it's it's something that has to be done.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't study history of all the globe, right? I don't like. I am familiar with like U.S. colonialism and like British colonialism, right? But I don't know exactly the issue that had like with France and Algier and stuff like that, right? But I try not to blame the victim. That's usually the what you use, the principle, and then go further to that. Yeah, I think I said more words in the last 3 minutes than the whole stream. Say
probably.
something that ignites my butthole, and I'm gonna.
Yeah, when I saw that comic, I was like, I'm just gonna sit back and watch this one.
Yeah. What's been going on? I feel like there's a shift in what you guys. I can't keep track other than here. Yeah, you know what? Well, I mean, a lot's happened in the past year, 2 years, obviously, even 6 months or whatever. And you also have to understand that like society and biohacking is constantly changing. So there's things that are more important and less important. And a lot of things that are important don't necessarily have to do with just doing experiments. Some stuff just has to do with like building community and building culture and things like that. And those things might not be so obvious to a lot of people because they're just like, well, you know, what new projects are you working on and things like that. What new projects have you been working on? And the projects might be, you know, not as obvious. You know, we're working on making this kit better or easier, or making this protocol easier for people to use, or working on developing this new technique. that might not be like, oh, splash all over the headlines and super exciting or anything like that. But we're always working on tons of stuff. It's just now it's way broader because we're trying to do more than just scientific projects. We're trying to reach people in many different ways and build biohacking as something that's more than just like injecting yourself with DNA.
Yeah, that's so
Yeah.
2017.
Yeah, so you need to build like infrastructure, and there's always going to be peaks like info stuff, like with COVID that was a huge peak or stuff like that. So it fluctuates. A lot of people, after your big project, a lot of people come. They're like, "Oh, what's going on there?" And then just kind of like goes down before something like next happens. But in between doing these side project, we have a lot of work to do, right? It's not all just injecting stuff on camera.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think that's something that I think a lot about. Is like I think the best thing this sort of generation of biohackers can do is build infrastructure for the next, because like all the really cool stuff is still in the future, unfortunately. Like all the you know Blade Runner stuff, and the best thing we can do is build infrastructure to make that stuff easier and more accessible.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And just like put information out there and stuff like that, stuff that's like maybe not so obvious to most people, but has a long cumulative effect over time, right? That's the thing, is like people underestimate the amount of value that infrastructure has, except for David. He really appreciates good roads. But besides David, people,
I'm just not used to it.
people underestimate the effect of infrastructure because it it has very, 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 like, you think about gas stations or something in any country, right? That infrastructure took a long time to build, but now that it's there, like when your car is low on gas, you can easily get more, right? But that investment doesn't seem exciting. Like, let's build gas stations, you
Yeah,
know? And it's the same way with biohacking. Like, sometimes the most important things aren't the most exciting because it's just like it's making stuff available to people.
yeah.
That's it. That's like what we're doing, is just making things available. Um, yeah.
Even in biohacking, there's boring routine stuff. So,
Yeah, like if
what,
you can't get the
what
stuff,
is
if your protocols are inaccessible. Yeah,
what is this comment? If you were able to hear God via super sharp intuition, would you do something illegal if he would ask?
I, I would probably just assume that I'd gone crazy and not do it.
Yeah.
What's the best place to keep up to date? I would say just follow us on social media. If you don't follow, I mean, obviously, I assume you follow us on social media if you're here at this live stream.
Yeah,
I would just say follow us on social media. And like, we all have Patreons, we all have, whatever. I have a Substack where I write like, a newsletter that's bi-monthly or sometimes more. There's so many ways to keep track of what we're doing and what's going on. Just the main way, though, is to follow us on social media. You should be able to find out stuff there. Usually when something's going on, we'll have live streams all the time. So even if you miss something one week or don't see a post, you'll eventually, see something from us. Yeah.
Yeah. Just Google our names and find our social media. This is where we update stuff.
Yeah.
yeah,
Instagram, Facebook,
yeah. I try to
Patreon.
make my stuff easy. I don't have like all my channel names everywhere, just like David Issue.
Yeah.
But yeah, all the stuff we're going to start working on. And, we'll try to update the CDC website again, especially working on new projects and stuff like that. Yeah. I mean, we've been working on a lot of projects. Some of the stuff wasn't as successful, and some of the stuff just needs more research and development, embryo genetic engineering and microinjection and stuff like that. So it's just like some of these things just take time and a lot of development, years sometimes. And so, be
Daria,
patient.
you should come down and help me with this microinjection stuff.
Okay. Let me 15 hours and I'll be there. No. Okay,
Yeah.
probably 1 more month and I can come there.
Oh
I
yeah.
honestly
One.
want to. Yes, and I honestly been looking at like jobs at BC area because I wanted to uh, spend some time with my family because when war happens you're like, oh, I really want to hang out with my family. My family is actually pretty fun. Parents are not that boring. They're actually very interesting people. So I wanted to spend some time, and I was like, oh, I just look at the jobs there. First of all, most of them they require a degree, right? I have a bachelor's degree in biotech, so they require a degree, but they pay you minimum wage. I was like, you get more money if you don't have a degree. I was like, I feel so bad for Canadian students who paid, because I didn't pay anything in Ukraine for my education, paid for education. Then you go to a biotech company and you have a minimum wage. I'm like, I'd rather go to the Odin, have my minimum wage there, but do something that I love. Like, obviously.
We paid you more than minimum wage for sure.
Oh, it's different in, I guess, in Canada. Yeah, it was more than minimum wage.
Yeah,
See,
yeah,
and even get paid more than minimum wage.
But
yeah.
yeah,
That's a question I'd gotten a lot. Was like, would you move to a lab to do like genetics or whatever, like be a lab tech or something? But it's like when I worked in the oil field, I made more money than most lab techs make, and like you don't have to have a degree. So it's like,
Yeah.
no, I still got to get paid. Like I got bills, I got a family.
the thing about genetic engineering for plants is it just takes a really long time generally. It's just like a long process. And people say that they want plant genetic engineering kits, but like the demand for it is not like in order to just be like, yeah, here's all the stuff. And even people, Sebastian Cocchioba, he does like some plant genetic engineering. It requires agrobacterium he uses, and that's like illegal to ship across state lines. It's probably even illegal to have in the lab, um,
Yeah. It's
because
considered dangerous.
because the plant pathogen. Um, and so like, there's not really an easy way. Like most people just get their friend to ship them some agrobacterium and don't tell anybody, sure. But as a business, you can't really like illegally ship agrobacterium around everybody across state lines. Um,
That's when the feds come shut you down.
and so like the ways to engineer plants without agrobacterium are even more difficult or like require more expensive and more difficult things. And like even so, I don't think most people would have the patience for it because even just generating like callus cells or something like that takes months sometimes. And so like, by the time you get a genetically modified plant, even for somebody who's experienced, can take like 6 months. And most people just don't have the patience for that. Um, the time. So it's just like, yeah, it's not something we're too interested in. We were talking about earlier at the beginning of the stream about making genetic engineering stuff for fungus, which I think might be a lot more interesting and cool. But yeah, plants are just, if you want to get into plants, go for it. But like,
Yeah. Just
Suddenly,
need
thing
to
is,
be a special kind of person. Like you really need to love plants, and because there's a lot of work to do. There's
yeah,
much more work to do than in regular molecular biology.
even hybridizing plants, you're like, okay, I'm going to take bell peppers and jalapenos and I'll cross them together, and next year I'll plant them and see what they grow. It's like, it just
Yeah.
takes forever.
yeah, that's a problem. Will Daria be a biohacker plant? I don't know. That's up to Daria, I guess.
Um,
All right.
I hope
September
to. I really hope to.
2nd, 3rd, 4th.
I think there's a 50-50 chance, but I think I always can come. Like, because I do have a visa for. I'm just waiting for my partner to get a visa to go to Canada. So that's main pushback for me. This is why I'm stuck in Germany, because we're just, and it takes forever right now
Yeah.
to get a visa because of the infrastructure is kind of messed up because of the amount of refugees. So it's been 3 months and it's still not here. But I can always go, but I just don't want to leave my partner behind. And during this time, you kind of want to be with all your friends and family as present. Be as present as possible. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. Hope to meet you too. Come to Mexico.
I've been to Mexico. It's nice.
it's hot.
Yeah, but I'm used to hot.
Just like honestly, this is why I'm looking more at. I was like, oh, I wish the outing was in Canada because like Canada is perfect, like weather-wise.
No,
It's
it's gotta be
perfect.
way too cold. No, I'd freeze
No,
to death in Canada.
see, I'm from Ukraine. I'm used to more colder temperature. I feel more comfortable.
What is this place, Canada? Though, are you referring to America Junior?
I think you're in Canada because all the people, their faces are cut in half and they talk like this. Like on
No,
South
they're actually really nice, and they even know where Ukraine is and what Ukraine is. So
Yeah, good for them.
they're,
That's all they
they're,
got going.
they know geography, and they always say sorry.
Sorry.
Canada's diet America.
Diet America.
America Light. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. I don't know. No, I mean Canada seems fine. It's just I don't.
It depends also on the place, because like in Canada, um, you can be like, I know there's different provinces, right? It's like same as with the U.S. You can be like in, I don't know, Tennessee, or I don't know, Oklahoma, Ohio, and like be in a rural place where nothing happens, or you can be like in New York City or something like that. So it depends
Yeah,
on same with the U.S. It depends on the state, so it depends on the province.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe fast questions before we go, because I think like we all need to pee really bad because we've been
Yeah, I've
streaming
had
for 2
hiccups about
hours. Okay, good, because I'm not the only one, and I chugged like a bottle of water, and I had coffee before.
Yeah. I've had this whole thing.
What is what is that? Is that a teapot?
It's a French
French
press.
press.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Okay.
a huge French. Oh, Jesus,
Well, it's
freaking
not huge
Christ!
from the thing. It's like, I don't know, it's this big.
It's still like,
It's
your
pretty
head is David. You're a pretty big guy, right? So your head is bigger than like my head. So that's like at least a liter of French press coffee.
Yeah, I think so. I think I have a similar one, and it's got actual measurements on it. I think it's a liter.
Yeah, it might be.
You
I
fill
don't
it
know.
all the way up.
Noticeable
All right.
absence of mention in Mississippi. Well, because I think last
You can
time I
know
was
it.
too harsh on David for being
What
from
are the latest
Mississippi.
projects we're working on? We just
This was
rewatched
the
the
beginning.
live stream.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Rewatch the live stream.
just surviving. I
Yeah.
feel like
That's your
that's
latest
my
project.
project. Yeah. Try to survive in Dnipro without being killed by Russian missiles.
My latest project is making cocktails. Yeah,
Ooh, fun.
One
I
of my
want to
latest,
get good at making
one of my
cocktails.
latest projects is trying to keep my garden alive, but it never rains in Texas.
Yeah.
It's like it's been a month. Where is the rain?
Any Facebook group for people coming to Biohack the Planet? Maybe we'll set up something. Some
Yeah, I
like
think that's a
Discord
good idea to set up
or
a.
Telegram group or I don't know whatever.
Oh,
Bullshit.
Telegram. You know what that is?
WhatsApp.
Yes,
Yeah.
please Telegram. Please Telegram.
Oh yeah, please Telegram. Yeah.
It's so much
We can
better.
stream on Twitch. This stream is actually on Twitch, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this stream is streamed to many different places. This is
Can you
why
hang
we can
around
see.
before or after? I mean, not really. I mean, if people just want to stop by and say hi, sure, but like, it's not like we're business. It's not like we just like, hey, come hang out with us for 8 hours a day. But yeah,
Yeah.
thanks.
As
But
far as
this is the cool thing about conference. This is why you can hang out with everyone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but come. Anyway, what's my Twitch? I think it's just like Jay Zayner or Joe Zayner or something like. Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah. Anyway, thanks everybody for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks if you want to get some biohacking gear, make sure you go check out the Odin. I would say they're the sponsor of this live stream, but like we all just like work there, so
Yeah. So this gives me the right to promote my Patreon. support YanniLab on patreon.com/YanniLab.
patreon.com/YanniLab.
I think so.
Do it. Yeah.
Just
Support us in our work and so we can, keep you entertained. But thanks for coming, and we're going to do this every week.
Same time.
Dave and I were busy yesterday, so we pushed it today. But we'll probably do it, usually every Wednesday, somewhere around this time. So just keep an eye out. We'll probably get a more reasonable schedule pretty soon. But all right, have a good one.
Bye bye, everyone.